on the news. The Diocese of Brooklyn came out in full force to celebrate Palm Sunday. Bishop Robert Brennan shares with us his insight and how special this time of year is for the diocese. Out of the hospital and back to work, Pope Francis is feeling better and presided over Palm Sunday Mass.
The stamps on her Lenten pilgrimage passport are as diverse as the Diocese of Brooklyn itself. I'm Jessica Easthope with the nun who's on a mission to get as many as she can before the holiest day of the year.
Plus, how former President Donald Trump's legal team is preparing for his possible indictment. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. The Diocese of Brooklyn takes to the streets and celebrates their faith outside and inside church. Palm Sunday marks the beginning of Holy Week, which includes the most solemn days of the church year. But this day is a celebration of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, where he was greeted by people waving palms. That event recreated in a Palm Sunday procession led by Bishop Robert Brennan. In song, in prayer, and in good walking shoes, about 100 Catholics took to the streets of Brooklyn to share their faith on Palm Sunday.
De la pasión y resurrección de nuestro Señor Jesucristo.
It all started with a prayer by Bishop Robert Brennan at Grand Army Plaza. Then, with palms in hand, they reenacted Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem more than 2,000 years ago, stopping traffic and drawing attention as they made their way to the co-cathedral of St. Joseph for Mass.
People are out and about and doing their Sunday morning things, and we went by and many people stopped what they were doing to take it all in.
The bishop called it a great and moving experience.
Really what we were doing in a very literal way today, walking down the streets of Brooklyn, professing our faith, witnessing to what we believe, isn't that our task every day, to bear witness to our faith?
Bishop Brennan says this Palm Sunday procession is a reminder that Jesus is always walking with us. And during Mass, which was in Spanish, the faithful showed up in numbers to hear the Word of God, something the bishop hopes they'll do more of this week.
Let's try to make Holy Week holy. Let's make this week a little bit different than every other week. We can keep on our busy schedules and all the pressures and everything that keeps us running and running. Or we could turn to the Lord and make this week just a little different.
And to do that, the bishop suggested reading from the scriptures, participating in the Stations of the Cross, and praying the Rosary. Also happening on Palm Sunday, this much-loved tradition from Venezuela. Catholics took turns carrying a cross in Brooklyn, the Christ-like walk inspired by the Nazareno de San Pablo procession that happens on Wednesday during Holy Week in Venezuela. Bishop Brennan blessed the procession, which started from St. Michael's St. Malachi's Church in Brooklyn and traveled half a mile to neighboring St. Gabriel's. Those who are carrying and walking with the cross are mostly migrants from Venezuela, who the parish has been assisting with food and clothes since September. Stay with Currents News for comprehensive Holy Week coverage. It all kicks off on Tuesday with the Diocese of Brooklyn's Chrism Mass. That will be live on Net TV at 7:30 right after Currents News. And after the Chrism Mass, Currents News will have coverage of all things Holy Week leading up to Easter Sunday. On Holy Thursday, Bishop Brennan will celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper at 7:30 p.m. On Good Friday, he'll celebrate two services, the Way of the Cross at 10 a.m. and the Liturgy of the Lord's Passion at 3 p.m. The Easter Vigil with Bishop Brennan will be televised Saturday at 8 p.m. And on Easter Sunday, 3 live Masses will be celebrated in 3 languages, a 9 a.m. Creole Mass, an 11 a.m. English Mass that will be celebrated by Bishop Brennan, and a 1:30 p.m. Spanish Mass. There will also be a 4 p.m. Italian Mass and a 5 p.m. Polish Mass for those who wish to celebrate in those languages. Over now to Holy Week at the Vatican. Pope Francis is back, and he presided over Palm Sunday Mass just a day after being discharged from the hospital.
Nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo.
The pontiff celebrated the chilly outdoor Mass in a jam-packed St. Peter's Square and told the faithful to embrace those who feel abandoned. He entered the square in his Pope-mobile and led Sunday's Mass from a chair in front of the main altar. The Holy Father thanked well-wishers for praying for him while in the hospital. Pope Francis will continue with the rest of Holy Week as planned. On Holy Thursday morning, there will be a Chrism Mass at St. Peter's Basilica. The Pope will bless the special oils to be used throughout Rome this year. Later that day, he will offer Mass at a juvenile detention center where he will likely wash the feet of inmates. On Good Friday, Pope Francis is expected to celebrate a Passion of the Lord, and later that night, he will preside the Way of the Cross at the Roman Colosseum. On Holy Saturday, he will celebrate the Easter Vigil, and on Easter, Francis is scheduled to celebrate Mass and give his Urbi et Orbi blessing. With Easter fast approaching, the Diocese of Brooklyn's very first Lenten pilgrimage is winding down, and one woman is in the final stretch. All Lent long, she has been sacrificing her time and energy to make it to as many pilgrimage stops as possible. In total, Sister Mary Ann Ambrose has been to more than 30 churches. And as Currents News' Jessica Easthope tells us, she's more energized now than ever.
There's a spring in her step and good friends by her side. Sister Mary Ann Ambrose is on her way toward accomplishing a goal. But on the Diocese of Brooklyn's Lenten pilgrimage, it's not about the destination.
Right, snows is like that too.
But the journey.
It's been actually quite amazing, and visiting churches that I've been connected to in some way. There were many on the list.
For the first time this year, the Diocese of Brooklyn is giving Catholics the chance to embark on a spiritual journey in their own backyards. In this passport, a list of parishes, one for each day of Lent. If you visit for Mass, a prayer, or Eucharistic adoration, you get a stamp. Sister Mary Ann has visited 32 parishes, and with her passport in hand, she enters the 33rd. St. Rita's in Long Island City.
This is church number 33.
For the Angelus prayer and a rosary.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
She comes with a crew, Carol Laporto and Sister Mary Civillo.
I'm 84. I've lived in Brooklyn my whole life. I thought I knew it all. I found so many wonderful experiences.
And I pray for everybody in the church when I come in, people in this place who are here. And so, I think it's been a wonderful praying experience for me.
And along the way, she's met other pilgrims with a similar purpose.
Yeah, how many churches have you been to? 23. Brooklyn and Queens is a rich diversity of wonderful people who worship the Lord, and we've gotten to meet each other.
With each church, she's reminded of moments throughout her 40 years in religious life. The stamps in her passport have come to represent something deeper.
So I etched it with a pencil.
And the pilgrimage has allowed her to reflect on Christ's resurrection.
My heart rate goes lowest when I sit in the church and just let go of the things of the day and remember. And isn't that what Jesus is about? Remember me.
She's on a mission to get to as many churches as she can. At the end, she's hoping it's a moment of glory, not for herself, but for him. In Long Island City, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
And here with us now is Sister Mary Ann Ambrose, who also happens to be the Director of Faith Formation at St. Ephraim's Parish. Thanks so much for being here, Sister.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, so you must be tired.
Well, it's been an interesting Lent.
I love it. So it was so nice to see you at St. Rita's because that's where I grew up. That was my parish growing up. That was on Friday. Have you managed to squeeze in any more parishes since then?
Yes, on Saturday I was at Most Holy Trinity in Williamsburg, and today Mary of Nazareth in Fort Greene, Clinton Hill.
And that makes how many so far?
35.
35 parishes. Okay, so of all the churches you've seen, which one would you say kind of stands out to you?
For me personally, St. Martin of Tours stood out because in 1982, when I was investigating and exploring the Sisters of St. Joseph, I was invited to live in a house for a time to check it out. And the investigator in me wanted to do that, and it was the best year of my life. And it changed everything, and even for my family, because entering the convent was not exactly on their top of the list, but meeting the sisters there, and it was just wonderful.
So it's been kind of a personal pilgrimage for you.
Absolutely.
You've had kind of connections with many of the churches.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's lovely. So as As a person, a member of religious life who's been in the diocese for so many years, what did you get out of going on this pilgrimage?
Well, for me, it was the ability to take time, which I'm very grateful to the pastor I work for, Robert Brennan, who gave me that time. It would be every day, where are you going today? And then I also had companions on the journey, inviting people to come. So we always had a carload. And like in The Wizard of Oz, it says it's not the journey, it's the companions on the journey, and the stories we would tell, and laughter and sharing. Like Sister Mary Sevilla was in the car. She has a lot more years in the diocese. And we would just tell stories of each place. And, and this Lent was extra special because last Lent I was laid up with foot surgery and in a hospital. So this year to be traveling is wonderful.
And it's kind of an evangelization tool, wouldn't you say, for all people in Brooklyn and Queens?
Absolutely.
How so? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, one couple that I met at St. James, and then we kind of fell into each other in other churches. And eventually Michelle and I started talking, and she shared, her husband Joseph was with her every day, and he was not a churchgoer. And he made the commitment to journey with her. And off they went together, and she shared with me how this has changed him. And so they're in their own family, just one-on-one.
That's beautiful.
A
nice experience for the two of them. So they're already talking about doing this again next year. So how could it be even better?
Well, I mean, everything in hindsight, I'm already thinking if St. Ephraim were to be chosen, what would we do? Right. But one thing I would say, like, there was the opportunity to register ahead of time to get on the mailing list. So every Monday you get an email with here's the week ahead of you. That if they sent passports to the parishes,
which I have, let's see your passport,
which I understand this next year will probably be digital, but then we have to make sure everyone has a QR code, because that was a little sketchy here and there. But it was wonderful. People, and people even without passports were excited to be there and just loving it. So
that's wonderful. Well, it's very impressive that you made it to so many churches, and you still have a few more to go. Sister Mary and Ambrose, I love it, and I know you'll be there. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It was wonderful to be here and to be there everywhere.
As we've mentioned, there are just 2 more stops in this Lenten pilgrimage before the Easter Triduum. Tomorrow, pilgrims are going to St. Francis of Paola Church from Divine Mercy Parish in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, for more than 12 hours of spiritual activities. And on Wednesday, Holy Cross Church in Maspeth, Queens will close out this Lenten journey. And be sure to stay with Currents News as we take a look back at the Lenten pilgrimage, see the sights and sounds of Catholics displaying their faith as they discover the beautiful churches around Brooklyn and Queens. That's coming up on Currents News. And there's a lot more news headed your way. Lawyers for former President Donald Trump are gearing up for a legal fight, how they're preparing for a possible indictment. Stepping in, the White House reaches out to Russia to bring home a detained American journalist. Plus, sweet to eat, but even sweeter to look at, the Peep Show that's bringing out the creativity in artists. Former President Donald Trump is expected to be arraigned on Tuesday. His legal team preparing to challenge any charges as Trump focuses on hitting the campaign trail for another term. Gloria Pazmino has more from Lower Manhattan.
It's a trip former President Donald Trump has made many times before, but for the first time, Trump is returning back to New York City to face a judge. Trump will travel from Mar-a-Lago in Florida this afternoon and spend the night in Trump Tower. Then he'll come right here to Manhattan Criminal Court to face a judge and start a legal process that our country has never before seen.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to turn himself into a Manhattan court Tuesday. Trump is facing over 30 counts related to business fraud following an investigation into a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels days before the 2016 election.
This was a personal expenditure, not a campaign expenditure.
While the official charges are not yet known, Trump's legal team is setting up for a fight.
The team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge it.
Trump has been active on his social media, calling the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg politically motivated and claiming the judge overseeing his case, quote, hates him. Bragg's predecessor says these statements could strengthen the case against him.
And as political campaigning gets underway, Trump is expected to head back to Mar-a-Lago following that arraignment where he plans to deliver a primetime speech. Reporting from Lower Manhattan, Gloria Pasmino, back to you.
Despite this week's drama, it wouldn't prevent Trump from running for another term. The Constitution doesn't exclude someone running for president who has a criminal record. And if charged, Trump said he will continue to stay in the race. The only conditions that apply to a candidate: a person must be at least 35 years old and a natural-born U.S. citizen. And here's a fun history fact for you. The first president to ever be arrested, Ulysses S. Grant. His crime: going too fast in his horse and buggy. Grant was known to be a speed demon and was already given a warning. The penalty the 18th president had to pay in order to walk free: $20. Russia is pointing the finger at Ukraine for a St. Petersburg bombing that killed a prominent blogger who supported the invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's government said they had nothing to do with the attack and blamed it on domestic terrorism. The woman supposedly behind the bombing was arrested. At least 30 other people were also hurt in Sunday's attack. At the same time, Russia is also being scrutinized for detaining a Wall Street Journal reporter. And as Andy Madison tells us, the White House is stepping in to get him released.
In a rare call with his Russian counterpart Sunday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken demanded the immediate release of reporter Evan Jurkovich. But the fruits of that discussion have yet to be seen. Right now, the journalist is still being held on spying charges, accused by Russian authorities of trying to obtain state secrets.
The charge of espionage is ridiculous. We cannot, that is not accurate, and we find that incredibly ridiculous.
Both the White House and the Wall Street Journal call those charges bogus. Jurkovich is the first American journalist detained by Moscow since the Cold War. On Monday, NATO's chief echoed those calls.
It is important to respect freedom of the press, the rights of journalists, and the rights to ask questions and to do their job. So therefore, we call on his immediate release.
If convicted, Jurkovich could face up to 20 years in a Russian penal colony. Acquittals in espionage cases in Russia are virtually unheard of. Andy Madison, Currents News.
NATO's Secretary General is doing more than just condemning Russia. His organization will welcome Finland as the 31st member of the world's largest military alliance on Tuesday. This sends a warning to Russia that if it deploys soldiers near the Finland-Russia border, NATO would be involved. NATO Secretary General said the move makes this a, quote, historic week. Still to come on Currents News, a rare moment where it's okay to play with your food, how this peep show is helping a good cause. Plus, NASA names its crew for a historical moon mission. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Some of you, like me, may still be trying to prepare your Easter baskets for this Sunday, but one show in Maryland is turning a popular treat you're probably picking up into art. From automobiles to orangutans, Peeps were taken to new heights at the 16th annual Peep Show. Jennifer Franciotti shows us just some of the masterpieces that look too good to eat.
We are at the 16th annual Peep Show.
If you've never been, the Peep Show is really something to see. From homemade creations with just one to some that took thousands, here the marshmallow treat is the star of a unique springtime tradition in Westminster.
We have a Star Wars lightsaber duel over here with a few peeps, and then we have the Good Ship Lolly Peep made out of thousands of peeps.
In a new location this year next to Boscov's inside the town mall, you'll find 123 entries, and not all of them are sculptures. Laura King is a 5-time Peep Show artist, and this year she came up with...
We have the Oranga Peep. He is a compilation of coffee shop peeps and yellow traditional peeps, some thrifted ferns. It's our winter activity. We just kind of nestle down in the house and pull everything together and get creative.
It's free to take a peep, not 1 cent to enjoy all of this. It will only cost you if you want to vote for your favorite or buy snacks and peep-inspired, well, just about anything. Not too much of a sticky situation because all proceeds benefit the Carroll County Arts Council.
We do lots and lots of free family programming in our theater. We bring arts events to local schools for free. We give out grants to small arts organizations in Carroll County, and we give college scholarships.
Look at that, the Peeps in outer space. That was Jennifer Franziotti reporting. The Peep Show is running until April 10th, but if you can't make it in person, you can view all the works of art online at gogophotocontest.com/peepshow2023. And from Maryland to the moon. On Monday, NASA announced the 4 astronauts destined to helm the first moon mission in 5 decades. The astronauts are Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. The mission will see the first woman and person of color to reach the moon's surface. The crew is set to take off on November 24th for a mission that will last 10 days. And a reminder now that Holy Week is upon us. Currents News and Net TV will have full coverage of everything leading up to Easter, including tomorrow. Net TV will be broadcasting the Chrism Mass live on Tuesday. Be sure to tune in at 7 p.m. for live pre-Mass coverage with Currents News. The actual Mass will begin at 7:30. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. As we begin Holy Week and slowly see the end of Lent, let's take a look back at the 40-day journey pilgrims have been taking around Brooklyn and Queens. Hope to see you again next time.
So you're right there.
I was super excited. It came very spontaneous, but I was very excited about it because I'm from Brooklyn and I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, so it's home. And it's always good to come back home.
I was really excited because I've just been hearing about the revival that's been going on in the diocese, and I was feeling very grateful to have a moment to be a part of that.